little circles are turning there.
Yep. Yeah. It's now counting.
All right, wonderful. We believe that we're live. It says live above my head on my computer, so that's good. Welcome everyone to Messy Church Facebook Live. In this session, we will be describing a little bit about British Columbia, Canada. We will share some stories about our First Nations people. We will give you some insights into how the articles are written for the Get Messy magazine. And we will describe some activities of our own church. And several people are already saying hello. It's nice to see you all.
Oh, yes.
We'll just wait a couple of minutes and see if anyone else quickly shows up, but then we'll get on to our opening prayer.
And introductions.
Another minute maybe? Or should we just start? Let's just start. I'm Mark Hird-Rutter.
And I'm Jane Hird-Rutter. We've been involved with and have run a Messy Church for 11 years. For the first 6 years, we had been the Messy Church coordinator for the province of British Columbia, Canada. And now we're going to start with a prayer. I'm going to lift up this drum, which hopefully you can see. And this is a First Nations drum that we made at a workshop presented by a First Nations teacher 22 years ago. And I had worked with him in my job, and this is the drum we were able to make. So.
And we've got a candle here as well, and this candle will represent the light of Christ. Let us pray.
Creator God, we thank you for this wonderful creation that you have made. We are aware of the fragility of the earth and its life. We plead with you to show us how we may enjoy and respect and live in harmony with the ecology you have so carefully balanced. We feel blessed that we are in a time where we can communicate across the world and share our faith with many.
I'm just going to take a minute and put this onto a table behind us so that you can see it through the presentation. And yes, I can barely see it in the little tiny screen, but it's there. Welcome more people as you come in. It's nice to see people from around the world. I see somebody from Australia.
Excellent.
All right. Oh, actually, that was Lucy saying that we had Australia this morning. Okay. We would like to begin by proclaiming that we live on the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people and the Cowichan tribes. For thousands of years, the Coast Salish people walked gently on this land and supported a sustainable culture. We seek a new relationship with the First People, one based on honor and respect, and we thank them for their hospitality. Now, I'd like to show you where we are in the world, and for this, I have created some maps. Here's Canada, with our provinces. Canada is the second largest country in the world. And the green one, I've got to get, it's always backwards on the screen. Over here is British Columbia, and the little tiny sliver of green there in the corner, that's Vancouver Island where we live. Just to give you an idea of the scale, another picture. Oh, come on, get it in there. And here's British Columbia and the United Kingdom drawn to the same scale. So Jane and I are the Messy Church coordinators for that whole of British Columbia. Okay, and lastly, I've got another Vancouver Island picture. Oh, make sure it's the right way up. Vancouver Island looks the same way both ways, actually. So here's Vancouver Island. It's quite a large island. It's 500 kilometers from one end to the other, and about 100 kilometers wide. And down in this corner, right here is the city of Vancouver on what we call the mainland. And right here is Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia. And then just up the coast here, about, get that right there, that's where we live. It's a little town called Chemainus. Where in the world are you from? Maybe I can hear some folks.
Oh,
Let's see, we got
somebody's from Cornwall.
from Seattle. Crystal.
Oh, excellent.
And
Oh,
that's great.
yes.
Okay, so we're here now.
Yes. So we thought we would start with how we did start in Messy Church. So picture this. We're sitting in our church, calmly waiting for the church to start. And it's St. Catherine's Anglican Church in Port Coquitlam, which is an outskirt of Vancouver. And the priest comes up to us and he hands me a book. You might be familiar with this book. Go up right there.
That's good.
Oh, right there. It's Messy Church by Lucy Moore. And he handed me the book and he said, Jane, I think you'd be interested in this. Oh, okay.
Okay, keep going.
Keep going. Okay, we had a flash on the screen. So he said, I think you'll be interested in this. I'd like you to take it home and read it. So I took it home and read it, figuring, okay, something's going on, but I loved the book, thought it was a great idea. So 2 weeks later, Paul comes up to me and looks at me and he says, so Jane, when are you going to start Messy Church here? And that was how we got involved with Messy Church. And so we started in May of 2009. And we, with the help of several members of the congregation who helped with the crafts and the food, and it worked out really, really well. And Mark here was extremely supportive and came to help at all the Messy Churches. And one of the things that was good in my life at that time was I was retired, and I had my career as an elementary school teacher, and then I became an elementary school principal. So, Mark.
In 2014, I retired as well. I was an instructor in geomatics at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. Geomatics is the study of measuring the earth, land surveying and mapping, hence the maps that I keep pulling up, right? And I was asked to become, Jane and I were asked to become regional support coordinators for the Vancouver area late in 2004, and then for all of British Columbia.
In 2014. Okay.
In 2014.
Yeah. Okay. Canada has promoted itself as a multicultural society. We have people from all over the world who have made their homes, and for the most part, we have got along quite well. When it comes to our First Nations people, though, Canada has not done a very good job. When people from Europe first arrived, the First Nations people helped them survive through the cold winters and showed them how to manage. And in return, without meaning to, our European ancestors brought unknown diseases and took ownership of land. The diseases like smallpox killed 50% to 90% of the indigenous population and left the communities devastated.
The First Peoples did not understand the concept of owning land. They had large areas where they lived, and they often shared hunting and fishing grounds with nearby tribes. There were disputes and raids, and even slavery between the people. They also got together in great groups for huge celebrations that they called potlatches.
One of the sad parts with our interactions with the Native people were residential schools, where the government sponsored religious schools that were established to assimilate Indigenous children into the Euro-Canadian culture. This practice was started, this practice was started in 1880 and continued right up until 1996. These schools would remove children from their families and their culture and teach the children English and a similar curriculum to the non-Native society. Unfortunately, their own language, culture, ceremonies, and way of life was forbidden. There were lots of abuse that took place in these schools, and as a result, the relationship between the First Nation people and the rest of Canada has been strained.
Our First Peoples here in British Columbia have a very rich and fascinating history and culture. People have been living in this area for at least 14,000 years, and with some settlements continuously occupied for about 5,000 years. The fish and wildlife were so plentiful that the culture had time to develop wonderful art. Our West Coast nations are famous for, Coast First Nations are famous for totem poles. These represent only a very small portion of the art that they produced. And we've got some other art to show you. So this is knitted here by our First Nations folks. Yep. It's called couch and knitting.
We have plaques.
So this is a typical piece of art of a hummingbird. We have lots of hummingbirds here in BC. There's
a wooden box that they've made, which has got copper.
Oh,
oh no!
We will fix this. Okay, there we go. You can tell it's live.
When things make a mess there. And there is another box.
Yeah, this is another cedar box.
Cedar box.
This one, you notice, it has curved edges. They actually used to make them by wrapping the cedar around. And you open this one, it smells unbelievably nice.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Inside.
Yeah.
And it has a hummingbird. It has a hummingbird on top as well.
Yeah.
And
I have on earrings and a necklace that are made by the Aboriginal people here. And it's got carvings on the silver of an orca whale. And so all of them are orcas. And this was given to me by a First Nations woman who was at the head of my pack group many years ago. And she gave this to me to say thank you, which I really appreciated.
As well as all this art, they're very good at storytelling and song and dance as well.
Okay. Over the past 1,400 years, 14,000, I'm sorry, much longer than that, our First Peoples also learned a thing or two about living sustainably. Many of their hunting and fishing techniques, their stories, and their rich culture demonstrate their understanding of sustainability. About a year ago, we were fortunate to listen to a local First Nation artist named Arthur Vickers. Apart from being an amazing artist who works in silkscreen techniques and other mediums, he is also a wonderful storyteller. One of the stories he shared was with time he spent with his grandfather. As a child, the grandfather took him into the forests, and they sat quietly on a log. And they sat there quietly for some time. "Do you hear that?" Arthur's grandfather said. "Hear what?" Arthur replied. "Listen very quietly." "There," said Arthur's grandfather. "It's the trees. They are talking to each other. The big cedar here is the mother tree. She is talking to all the trees around. She tells them how to be healthy. She sends them medicine and nutrients. All the trees are connected through their roots in the soil. The large trees look after the small trees and nurture them. In the same way, the large fish look after the small fish and teach them how to survive. If we take away the large fish and cut down the large trees, then it hurts the whole community."
I don't know if you know this, but if you go online and type, "How do trees talk to each other?" you will find many articles on how they do this. The science of today is reflected very accurately by the story of Arthur Vickers' grandfather. Have any of you online read about trees communicating with each other? It's all quiet. Of course, we don't know how many people are typing that.
There's lots of people typing.
All right.
Got to talk about that one.
We like your minister all the way up there.
Yeah, we have one from Lucy Moore that says she likes our minister. We do too. He's now the minister in Menorca.
Yeah, in Spain.
In Spain. Okay.
All right. To walk in the forests of British Columbia is to walk with the spirit of the Creator. The people of Canada have taken on the goal of reconciliation with our First Peoples, as we try to understand the human toll our society has placed on these people by our actions in the past. We need to learn to understand each other and work together more closely. This reconciliation process is likely to take years, if not decades, but Canada must do this.
Now we're going to take a look at what it was like to write a Get Messy theme. So for the first few months, we have been very, very involved in writing articles for the Get Messy magazine. We have found this to be a very challenging but very rewarding process. We thought we would share with you some of the journey. The articles we were working on were for the 2021 and 2022 editions. There is a lot to think about when writing an article, and now we have done one, we have a great appreciation of the efforts of all the writers who have gone before us. We have chosen one of the articles just to show you some of the steps we went through. Let's start by reading the parable of the lost coin.
So this is taken from Luke 15, 8 to 10. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp and sweep the house and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents.
We would now like to show you a couple of the crafts that we created. We think these might be compatible with Messy Church in a Bag for COVID protocols. The first one is a headband. And it is thought, excuse me, I'm just going to have to put this headband on. There we go.
I got to move some things. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. It is thought that women of that time wore coins on a headband to keep the coins safe. We created this headband craft made from a piece of felt cloth, some ribbon, and the coins, which are paper discs. These can be purchased or created using round stickers and some cardstock. In the magazine, we asked some questions. Why would women of Jesus' time create a headband? To save their money? How much money in today's funds would 10 of these coins be worth? So that's, and now I'm going to take this off so I can see again.
I'm not sure where we are now. I've looked away.
Right there, lava lamp.
Okay, I noticed somebody, Mary Judkins, talked about the trees, they could bark to one another. I think you're going a little bit out on a bough there, Mary, with that one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
However.
Okay, next one. So the next thing, so that headband could be put into a little bag and the components, and then somebody could make that. The next one is a science experiment, and we're going to do a lava lamp. And to do that, again, these things we could do from home with a few bits and bats that people could get.
However,
so we're going to, we might have
up.
to stand here for this.
Yeah, we're going to stand.
And we have to move the...
so you can see it.
Okay, so you can see that.
This jar now has water in it.
All right. The next thing we're going to do now is add some cooking oil.
Like a mazola oil.
Or corn oil or something.
Or corn oil, yeah.
Yeah, you can do this at home. It's not too dangerous, okay?
No, it's not too dangerous. It was
hopefully
actually fun.
You can see that. All right, there'll be no chips tonight.
Next,
we're going to take some
red food coloring.
Red, or any color you like, actually.
Well, we have red.
And it's told 10 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Give it a few more.
We're told we have to be patient and wait for the cooking oil to drop.
Yeah, it's got to drop.
And then this is where it gets a bit exciting. Well, we're going to use some Alka-Seltzer. And I've got an Alka-Seltzer. And they suggest not putting the whole tablet in at once, so we'll break the tablet. And are you ready all over the world? Are we having a reaction yet?
Yes, we are. Can you
I'm not
see?
sure how, I'm going to put the rest of the thing in
Yeah.
there.
There it goes.
We'll put the whole one in now. It's not exploding or anything.
No, not yet.
So it's actually creating nice swirls on this side. It's very hard for us to tell whether you can see them.
Yeah.
On our little tiny view. But anyway, there you go. So we thought that this could be, you could tell people that, and these are things that they could get at home and do this experiment. So again, something for kind of COVID.
Okay. I'm going to move
I
this
think
off
we
of
had
here.
some other things to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got a couple of questions to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, still going.
So basically, you could ask folks in the messy church what they think when the Alka-Seltzer will be added, and do they know why it does what it does? And then in the story of the lady in the lamp in the house, would this be the kind of lamp that you would search with? Maybe not, but
No.
maybe they could come up with what kind of lamp they would search with.
Yeah.
Now we also needed to write a story, so I'm going to share with you part of the story that we wrote for this one. And the idea was to help people understand the parable. A lady was doing some housework. Suddenly she noticed that the diamond was missing from her engagement ring. Her ring looked terrible, like a sad broken tooth. The claws must have worn and become loose, and she never noticed. Her heart raced, and she started frantically looking over the house. Where could it be? She tried to trace her steps for the day. Could she remember when she last looked at the ring and it was there? She started to look under the furniture and then started moving furniture. She could not find it. The hours that afternoon went by very fast as she went through the house from top to bottom. Soon her husband came home. She was so upset and didn't know what to say to him. He immediately could tell there was something wrong. She showed him the sad ring, and he came and gave her a hug. They held each other for a while, and then he said, I remember the day I gave that to you. I was so nervous that I would screw up with what I was going to say. I had it all planned out, you know. She said, I remember we went to tell the family. My sister knew before we opened our mouths. They both cried for a bit, and then they took the vacuum cleaner out into the garage and on a tarp emptied its contents. The couple had a frugal life. It was not an option to simply replace the diamond. There was the mortgage, saving for the daughter's education, and the brakes on the car needed doing. They searched for a couple of weeks around the house, but the diamond could not be lost. It could have been lost outside, who knows? Soon the ring was placed in her small jewelry box, and life went on. She was sad to lose the diamond, but she came to terms with the loss. Many years later, it was spring. Their daughter was in the last year of university, and the lady had bought some daffodils and was putting them in a vase. She had to go behind the couch to put them on the windowsill. There, out in the corner of her eye, was the hint of a glint, a slight of a sparkle. Down by the baseboards in a dark corner, embedded between the floorboards and the baseboards, the diamond. She put down the daffs and dashed over. It was a bit tricky to get out, but there it was. 1,000 feelings flooded her heart. Memories of their engagement, the love of her husband and her love for him, their wonderful life so far, their struggles and their accomplishments. It all burst forth. They took the ring to the jeweler and got it fixed with stronger claws. She told everybody she knew about the story. In the end, it wasn't the diamond that was important. It was the wonderful, sad, happy, and loving experiences that it represented. Imagine how this lady felt when she found what she had lost. Could this help us understand how God feels when we discover how much God loves each of us? What do you think of our story? Please let us know in the comments.
Thanks, Mark. That's a lovely story. So we wanted to talk a bit about Christmas now. And one of our Get Messy themes was to write the Christmas story. We had to create a normal craft-filled messy church, which was a bit foreign to us. As both of the churches where we ran a messy church, we'd been asked to do the Christmas pageant. Our December messy church is one of the most successful and fun times in our messy church. Both churches had lots of costumes and no one to organize and run the pageant. So we took it on and found that with our congregation bringing friends and relatives, they were very successful messy churches. First, we looked for and wrote a script. We started with the usual script of the Christmas story. And then the second year, we did a variation on it where a parent was telling the story to her son, much like Peter Falk did in the Never-Ending Story.
The next year, we wrote the story from the point of view of the innkeeper. He was trying to get some sleep and was continually wakened up by Joseph, Mary, Joseph again, shepherds, angels, an incredibly bright light out in the sky, out the window, and finally a bunch of rich guys who came on camels. Each time somebody knocked on the door, the innkeeper had to get up, go down the stairs, take out his keys and open the door and answer the questions.
We followed this by telling the story through the Advent candles. One of the candles had to retire and a new one was appointed. The 3 remaining candles had to show the new candle the ropes by telling the Christmas story. Another story we wrote was to tell the Christmas story through the eyes of the animals. The cat, this is how we displayed the animals. The cat took charge and directed the other animals to tell what they had seen. Each animal, along with animal sounds, meow, meow, got to guide us along.
We sent out notices to all of our congregations saying that if they wanted to be in the pageant, they had to be in the church hall by 3:30. And if they wanted to watch the pageant only, then they had to be in the church by 5 o'clock. We had all of the costumes in the hall as people arrived, and they decided who they wanted to be. Maybe a shepherd, or maybe an angel, or maybe Mary or Joseph. And Jane and I chose the main characters as they arrived, and we had scripts ready for them, all with their parts highlighted. Then we go up to the church sanctuary, which in our case is in a different building, with the whole crowd, for staging and a single run-through of the script. And this is why they termed this is why they coined the term chaotic. Then back to the hall, get everybody into costumes, practice the songs, and by 5 o'clock we walked back up to the church and performed the pageant. It always worked very smoothly. There were a couple of notable exceptions, the donkey issue and the vacuum incident, but we won't we'll bring those up another time maybe. Then our wonderful helpers in the kitchen served us all the dinner, and we would get about 85 people in total, with maybe 65 of them in the actual play. It was tons of fun.
Do you want to do the next line too?
Do any of you do a pageant for Messy Church in December? Maybe give us a comment.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next thing we're going to just talk about is communion. One of our themes in the spring is communion. During our communion Messy Church, all of our crafts form part of the communion ceremony. We bake bread buns and decorate a plate. So I'll just bring over here to show you. So this is one of the plates we have decorated. Would you hold that up for me? Thank you.
Okay.
And Mark has made an altar which goes together without any nails or screws, and we use a handprint tablecloth to cover the altar. We also decorate individual plastic cups. Sorry, he's
She
helping
doesn't
me
know
get
where
it
the
in.
camera is.
We also decorate individual plastic cups for the communion drink, which is blueberry iced tea, with squashed grapes as well. Our priest comes to Messy Church and does the celebration as well as giving communion. Okay.
So we're nearly out of time.
Yes.
I don't wonder if anyone has any questions. And then we'll probably do our little
Closing.
prayer at the end.
Yeah.
Let's see if anybody. It's always quiet.
Ooh.
You're probably busy typing. Oh yes.
Lucy's
we
asked.
do. It's very fun time. That's Crystal.
Yeah.
So she does a
And Lucy has talked about the Messy Adventure.
yeah. Oh, there's other people have done the story with puppets and written their own script,
Yeah.
and the children come dressed. Very good. We have 3 Marys. I like that. Brilliant. Sometimes we run out of people and we have to jump in and be part of it. Blueberry iced tea. Yes, we make iced tea. We have the children crush grapes with a
Garlic
press. That's the messy one. We used to put the grapes in there, but we figured there were too many dirty hands in that, so we pretend we put it in, and then we just serve the blueberry iced tea. Okay.
All right. So we need to get down to here.
Sure. So now we're going to, we have a tradition at the end of our messy church, and we do our grace cube. So this is what we do before dinner. You see our cube there. What it is one of those big styrofoam cubes with paper around the outside and some tape on top. And we printed a grace on each side. So we ask whoever is the closest birthday to the current messy church to get to toss. And in our case, Jane has the closest birthday.
I do.
So she's tossed
Mark's going to go pick it up.
All right. And amazingly, we have this grace, and we're going to bring that up so you can see it, I hope.
Okay.
No, come on. Okay. So it's thank you for the food we eat. Thank you for, oops.
Oh.
You know, we can't read it anymore.
No.
When we did this originally,
It was on a bigger screen.
and you think we'd know it, right? Thank you for the world so sweet. Thank you for the food we eat. Thank you for the birds that sing.
Thank you, God, for everything. Amen.
There it is in the real world. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for being part of our messy church. It's the first time we've done it. We were a little bit nervous, but it's gone really well.
Yeah, I made lots of mistakes, and Mark just covered for me like usual.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. The birds that sing a ling-a-ling.
Okay, so we're gonna end the video now. Thanks very
Like
much.
the cute grace. That is brilliant. There's one from Crystal.
Yeah.